Hey guys, Chris here. You join me here in the 2020 Mercedes-Benz EQC 400 4MATIC. Yes, a mouthful of a name. And in this video, we are going to compare this EQC with the Audi E-Tron. We're going to go through similarities, but also the differences. And at the end of the video, I'm actually going to recommend one of these cars. So stick around to the end because which car I recommend and why I recommend it might surprise you guys. So if you're new to the channel, my name is Chris and I do car videos. So please go ahead and click that subscribe button down below. Click that notification bell. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I've actually done a few videos on this EQC already. I'm going to link all of them videos in the description box down below. I've done a range and efficiency test. I've also done a review. I've also done a review of the Audi E-Tron 55. And for you guys who are new to the channel, I actually own an Audi E-Tron 55. So that is my reference point. So this EQC is actually based on the Mercedes-Benz GLC. It's built on the same platform, so it has the same wheelbase as the GLC, but it is a bit longer at 10.5 centimeters longer. It's a smidge wider and a hair taller, but basically it is the same size as a GLC. But it has a smaller boot at 500 liters, where the GLC has a boot of 580 liters. And how does this compare to the E-Tron? Well, the E-Tron has a wheelbase that is 5.5 centimeters longer. It's also 14 centimeters longer overall, and is also 5.1 centimeters wider and 1 centimeter taller. It has a boot capacity of 660 liters, 160 liters more than this car. So on the onset, it is one size larger. So you can't really compare the two, but I didn't actually know this before I sat down and, looked at the numbers, because I thought they were basically the same size, because this EQC looks quite large, larger than a GLC from the outside. So I was a bit surprised to find out that the E-Tron actually is that much larger. But once you sit in the car, you do realize and see that this is quite more cramped than an E-Tron. It might be because of the dashboard design, but well, the numbers speak for themselves. This is a smaller car. But when it comes to specs and performance, this and the E-Tron 55 are very closely matched, and I mean very closely. They both have a total system output of 408 horsepower. They both have a front motor of 204 horsepower. They also have a rear motor with 204 horsepower. Total system output of 408 horsepower. This does 0 to 100 kilometers in 5.1 seconds, and the E-Tron does the same sprint in 5.7 seconds. This comes in at around 2.6 tons, where the E-Tron is a bit heavier at 2.7 tons. The E-Tron 55 has a battery capacity of 95 kilowatt hours gross and 86.5 kilowatt hours net. This has a gross capacity of 85 kilowatt hours and a net capacity of 80 kilowatt hours. So 6.5 kilowatt hours less than the E-Tron. They both have a WLTP range of about 400 kilometers, but this only charges at 110 kilowatts, while the E-Tron 55 charges at 150 kilowatts. Not a big difference, but when you look at the charging curves, that's where there is quite a big difference, because this has a flat charging curve where you get the maximum speed of 110 kilowatts from 0 to 40%, and then it starts dropping off to around 25 kilowatts at 95%. This is where the E-Tron really, is different from every other EV on the market, because it has a maximum speed of 150 kilowatts from 0 to about 80%, and still at around 95%, you still have more than 50 kilowatts of charging. The next thing I want to compare is subjective, and that is exterior styling. The Audi E-Tron is not a bad looking car. I mean, in the right spec, the right color, with the right wheels, I think it looks quite nice actually. But this is just so much better looking in my opinion. I love the exterior styling of this EQC. The front, the profile, the stance, the rear end. I just love the way it looks. A lot of people have, commented that the light bar on the front of the car isn't the best integration. And I can agree, but I think this thing just looks spectacular. Then we have the interior where the Audi has, this Bauhaus simple design, and well, materials are top notch. Audi have the best switchgear in the business. The precision, the fit and finish is second to none in the Audi. But I actually think this has a nicer interior. I think this is prettier. I like the design better. It just feels more special than the E-Tron. I mean, it has nicer materials. Down here lower in the cabin where you find hard plastics in the E-Tron, this has soft touch plastics. On the dashboard you have this vegan leather, or this like a wetsuit type of material. It looks really nice. It is stitched on top of the dashboard, or on top of the doors you have this vegan leather. It just feels more special. It's much more of an occasion in here. Though Mercedes switchgear isn't as nice or precise as the Audi switchgear, I still think that this is a nicer interior. So points to the Mercedes, nicer on the exterior and nicer on the interior. Then we have the driving experience, and I think this is where the E-Tron and the EQC are very, very similar. I mean, they are super closely matched. I think the EQC is a bit more noisy than the E-Tron. I mean, the E-Tron is just super, super quiet. Maybe the quietest car I've ever tested or driven. This just has a bit more wind noise at motorway speeds, though at lower speeds I think it is a bit quieter, but overall I think the E-Tron just has the edge on it. And then we have the comfort. This car actually doesn't come with air suspension. It has normal springs and normal dampers, but for what it is the best riding car on normal suspension I have ever tested. This is super, super comfortable. But again, it's almost there at the E-Tron level. The E-Tron has air suspension as standard and just edges it a bit, but there isn't much in it. And actually at lower speeds over bumps and potholes, I think this is actually better damped than the E-Tron. But when the road gets really bad, the E-Tron is, I mean, second to none. That suspension is magic. Then lastly, we have price. And this is where things get very interesting, because the base prices of these cars are not far too off. So here in Norway, this starts at 637,000 kroners, whereas the E-Tron 55, remember we're trying to compare spec for spec and drivetrain for drivetrain. We could also, compare it with the E-Tron 50, but that has a much smaller battery capacity and less performance than this. We're going to compare what is relevant, and that is the 55. That starts at 700,000 kroners. So you have a delta of 63,000 kroners. And then when we go through the different markets, so in Sweden, the difference is almost 100,000 kroners. And in Germany, the difference is 11,000 euros. This is 11,000 euros cheaper than the E-Tron 55 in Germany. And then you have the UK, where the price difference is the least, and that is only 5,000 pounds is the difference between this and the E-Tron 55. Yes, these different countries have different standard options package, different standard equipment packages, so the variation might be there. But when I spec an E-Tron and an EQC spec for spec, this is about 100,000 kroners cheaper. 10,000 euros, $10,000, 10,000 pounds cheaper. I mean, this is quite a bargain actually for what you get. Is 100,000 kroners less than the equivalent E-Tron. And when you start to put more equipment on these cars, the difference becomes even bigger, because the E-Tron, everything is just extra, and it costs so much. I mean, the head-up display in the e-tron is 17,000 kroners. The head-up display here is like 8,000. I mean, half the price. The premium sound system here comes in a package where you get a lot of things. When you get the premium sound system in the Audi, it's almost the same as the premium package here. So the more you spec it, the bigger the difference is. And I spec'd out an EQC equivalent to my e-tron, and I think even with even more equipment. And my e-tron is around 900,000 kroners. This EQC came out in at 770,000 kroners, so 130,000 kroners less. So which car do I recommend? Well, I mean, if you don't need the 150 kilowatt charging, if you don't go on a lot of long trips like me and you need the car to charge as quickly as possible, no matter the state of charge, if you don't want the absolutely most quiet and most comfortable car, get this and save 100,000 plus kroners. For this price point, this is hard not to recommend. I mean, this is a brilliant car. If you want the best of the best of the best, get the e-tron. But if you want almost as good and save a lot of money, get the EQC. Yes, you get a smaller trunk. Yes, you get a smaller cabin, a smaller back seat. But if that isn't the most important thing, if you just want a brilliant luxury car, a luxury SUV which is electric, which is a proper luxury vehicle, get this car. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below, and for more car content, as always guys, please subscribe. See you guys later, and goodbye.